Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Farmer's Footprint Instagram today, and happy Earth Day. Hi, Molly. How you doing this morning? Happy Earth
I'm
Day.
good. How are you?
I am fantastic. You're in Texas, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I am as well. Austin, Texas. Look at that. For everyone joining us today, thank you. My name is Mel. I'm the Director of Operations at Farmer's Footprint, and we are joined by Mollie Engelhart this morning for the first session of our Earth Day series. So we have three sessions today, I should say. We're starting bright and early with Mollie on ways to support the regenerative movement. And just an FYI, later this afternoon at 10 a.m., we'll be joined by Zach Bush and John Kempf, two big names in the regen space, talking about how our food system should heal the earth. And then to wrap it up at the end of the day at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we're joined by Helena Norberg Hodge, an amazing author, who will be talking about the timeless history of storytelling and how we've used it for generations to connect with each other and to connect with the land. But for right now, I'm so excited. We're with Mollie. Mollie is a chef. She's a business owner. She's a farmer. She has a ranch down in Texas called Sovereignty Ranch. I have a couple questions to walk us through today, Mollie. But before we get started, if you wanted to give a little bit about yourself, and maybe if you have an inspiring story about the regenerative movement that you've had in the last couple of days, that'd be fun to share to kick us off as well.
My name is Mollie Engelhart. I'm most well known, I think, at this point for being a vegan chef. I owned Sage Vegan Bistro, a chain of 5 restaurants in Los Angeles, and I tried to shift them to regenerative, and it did not work. The vegans did not take kindly to that transition, but I went from being a vegan chef to a regenerative farmer because I do believe that this is the pathway forward for humanity, and that we need to radically reconnect to the land and take our place as the keystone species on the planet. That is the most important work. And so, yes, it cost me a lot, but it's actually 1 year ago today that I made the announcement that we were making that change. And then in January, we ended up closing the restaurants. But I am not upset that I did that. Sure, there's like been a financial consequence to my family, but the reality is so many people across the world got to hear that story, and I got to speak this truth about regeneration on everywhere from Fox News to everywhere where that wasn't in the ethos, where this conversation wasn't happening. And so I feel blessed a year later, and I am completely undeterred in that what our most important work to do is reconnect with Mother Earth. And I think that there's been so much twisting of the green movement into ways for people to make money and oligarchies to just sell thousands of solar panels and windmills. But this work truly makes a difference for human health, for all of humanity in a way that is profound and long lasting. And it's also, the results are rapid. And so this is not like drive a Tesla and in 40 years the offset the whatever to a F-150. This is like in 2 years you can bring soil health and human health and alter a landscape that was completely barren of life on so many different levels. And so I'm honored to be here with you guys. I'm honored to be in the game doing regenerative agriculture on the ground, and I am excited to be a new Texan as of 2 years ago. So thank you for having me, and happy Earth Day.
Happy Earth Day. And as not a native Texan, but welcome to Texas also.
Thank you.
Um, your story, Mollie, it really took the world by storm there for a bit, and it definitely got the regenerative movement out there, and it actually like kind of perfectly funnels into the first question of when you hear the term quote unquote regenerative movement. We say that quite a bit, like we're accelerating the regenerative movement. What does that mean to you personally? What is the regenerative movement to you personally? And in your view, how can regenerative principles be expressed beyond just simply how we manage the lands?
Well, first of all, the regenerative to I think we need to be cautious whenever we start saying the regenerative movement, or, the blah, blah, blah community. We do this a lot. And often there isn't actually any community in that thing. So the first thing is that we, the practitioners, we, everybody you're bringing on later today, I know in real life, and I'm grateful for their work. And so, and we have community. We communicate, we talk, we say, hey, what's going on with this? Or hey, what Zach tried to help me find some people to give us a little more runway to get the restaurants to not close. And, we all you said John Kemp, right? As well as I've been on his podcast. He's at Acres. My book is coming out through Acres. Like this, we are a community, but we have to share information and resources. So one thing is all of us that are doing the work, we want to be documenting the work, and whether that's like with filming or with statistics or whatever. I came to this area of Texas and I went to all the different to Texas A&M, to the ag extension, to whatever. It was like, look, this is what I'm trying to do. What's working here? And literally it was like crickets, like Bermuda grass and cows. Okay, well, beyond Bermuda grass and cows, what's working here? And so I took it on myself, like, okay, I'm gonna buy 2,000 trees, 20 of all different kinds, and I'm gonna put them in. They all should grow here, but we don't know because there's not a lot of stuff happening here. And already in 2.5 years, we're seeing, I now have data like, oh, okay, pears are monetizing in 2 years. And these peaches are getting peach girl, and these ones are doing great and not. And these apples are actually producing, and nobody said you could grow apples here. So I think that whatever we're doing, we want to then share that information. And then the most important part of the regenerative movement is the consumer. And so people can only do what I'm doing if there's someone out there willing to buy that thing. And so the people listening that may be living in an apartment and have no connection to regenerative agriculture, you are just as important as the farmer on the land doing the work. Because if we do not have consumers behind what we're doing, then we have nothing. I am way out on the skinny branches with this beautiful farm behind me, but if the community doesn't show up to buy milk, buy eggs, buy beef, buy vegetables, then this all goes away and I do some other thing, for a living. So that's not ideal because I'm truly inspired to be doing this. And so we need the consumers. Like you guys are so important. We, the people. And so in any movement, we love to talk about tearing down the existing system and we love to talk about how we need to move this forward. But we need we, the people, to be that. And that's for me too. Sometimes I'm like, oh God, I don't have enough forage. I need to buy hay. And there's a wanting to buy, like, oh, I'll just get this hay over here. They said they didn't spray it and blah, blah, blah. But no, I need to buy hay from a regenerative farmer, even though it's $30 more a round bale or whatever. And so shout out to Lee from Southwest Farms, where we just got our last couple batches of hay. He's doing regenerative cover cropping and all of that stuff, and he's locally here. So if I'm not willing to feel the pinch and pay the $30 more a round bale to feed the forage to my cows, how can I expect people to come and then pay the $3 more for my eggs or the $5 more for my milk? So we have to be willing to be the consumer of the regenerative products, and it's so important. People ask me all the time, what can I do to support the movement? Literally use your dollars every single day. And that sounds like kind of trite, or like vote with your dollars or whatever, but literally this only works if the community supports it. And so we can do all the storytelling in the world, and if when you get to the grocery store and you see pasture raised and this and you see regenerative and it's $12 instead of $8, and you're like, I'm just going to go with the pasture raised, then that is what you're wanting in your world, is chickens that have access to pasture a few hours a day. And that's very different than what I'm doing, where they're moving every day and they're on fully out in an orchard. And so that's, I think the most important thing is the consumer to move the movement forward. I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, I put myself on mute because the dogs are barking.
Oh no, it's
We
okay.
talk about that at Farmers Footprint a lot, that every decision we make can either accelerate the regenerative movement or hinder the regenerative movement. whether or not we even realize it while we're doing that purchase. So the example Mollie just used was eggs, it's beef. It can also just be the type of media we're consuming, the way we're engaging. There's ways to be a consumer. It's being a consumer is often inevitable. We have to buy food. We are often we're consuming media. I'm curious, and there's often barriers to access, barriers to accessing food, financial barriers. I'm curious, Mollie, if of course there's a way to be a consumer to support regenerative farmers by purchasing their products, but what are some other ways that we can be consumers that are not necessarily financial? Consuming, supporting our podcast, listening. I know just a story is not enough, but can you elaborate on that a bit? Because we know that financial barriers are sometimes something that a lot of people face in this movement.
Yes, I want to address this on 2 points. So I I think that you guys actually are the first person to ever publish me saying this out loud some many years ago when you came to visit me in my farm in California. But I said we have to reframe privilege. People will say it's a privilege to eat regenerative. It's a privilege. It's a privilege. And I just want to say it is also a privilege to eat cheap food that other people are dying to produce for you. And that I just want to reframe it. And it's easy to say there is barriers, and 100% there is barriers. And so there are people that have the power to buy these foods, and the more we support these farmers, the more the practices get out there and the more. But I always mention Cynthia. She was my friend, she's my housekeeper. She was on a team of strawberry pickers, 5 women, all under 40, all had cancer and all had a miscarriage. Picking strawberries. I want to say that the fungicides and mostly fungicides, but also herbicides that are being sprayed on strawberries, for example, are causing harm to these women. And so there's also a privilege in eating food that is hurting other people. And many migrant workers come here and they work very, very hard. And then they go back to their country of origin and die quietly with diseases that came from the herbicides, fungicides, and pesticides that we spray liberally on our food. And so it is also, we have to look at the privilege of cheap food differently. And so, yes, there is access issues. And yes, it is a privilege to have someone else be harmed by the food that we're eating. And believe me, there is harm on your own body as well, but there is harm on the people that are coming first in contact with it. But then, just for example, let's say you are consuming media, like you're saying, and you're watching and reposting and whatever, and then that leads to this farmer. Let's say Lee, someone says, "Oh, let me look up Southwest Farms because Mollie mentioned it on this thing," and then they decide to buy his hay. Now, maybe you didn't need his hay or you could not afford his hay, but if you uplifted his story, you shared it, maybe someone that did have the resources to support it was made aware. And so and then there's other ways and to be regenerative in your communities that don't have anything to do with necessarily purchasing or whatever. For example, we feed our chickens meat. And that might sound weird. And people go, "Oh, I buy the veg fed ones or whatever." But I'm in Central Texas. And you know what? The main things they produce in Central Texas is Bermuda grass and beef. So, you know what? There's a lot of around here processors. And those processors have offals. In America, we don't eat the guts, we don't eat the heads, we don't eat the feet. We don't eat a lot of the food that we should be eating. We throw away a very high percentage of the cow. And so I go and pick that up in 55-gallon blue drums and I feed it to my chickens, which turns into eggs for my community. But I'm also saving that butcher the money he would have to pay to get rid of that. And so, and then eventually, if more people were doing that, the butcher could charge less for the kill and disposal, and that would help farmers. So, example, in the United States, at my processor to process a sheep, it's $122 for the kill and disposal. But you can buy grass-fed, grass-finished sheep at Costco for $5 a pound. Well, if I'm only getting 30 pounds of meat from a sheep, I'm already paying almost $5 a pound just when we get the plastic bag, the sticker, and the processing, kill, and disposal. I'm at $5. That didn't account for raising the sheep and all of the things that went into getting the sheep to slaughter. And so, if more people are taking offals and stuff from the butchers to feed to chickens and or to put in their compost or to grind up and make fertilizer, that turns into less money for the people that are processing their sheep. So then that comes that we can come closer to that Costco New Zealand sheep price that I don't know how they get to. And so that's all interconnected. But then when the chickens are done, I come in with the flail mower and grind that up, bones and all that. What is organic fertilizer? Bone meal, blood meal, feather meal, and poop. Well, now that was regenerative in 7 different ways because it's lowering the cost for the butcher, it's lowering my feed costs, and it's bringing in fertility to the land. And so we have to think of things in a holistic way. If you're a restaurant and you have a lot of food scraps, find a hog farmer that can take that. And then you're paying less in your trash removal and they're paying less in their feed. There's so many ways that we need to integrate, even if you have nothing to do with necessarily regenerative agriculture.
100%. It's that concept of like the nested holes and just everything is within each other. Like our society is within a bigger society within the state, the economics and the logistics that exist within the supply chain. Most of the times from the consumer, you never really even see how all of those things are interconnected and how one action, the ripple effect that it has on every other downstream impact on that. And I really liked what you said there about there's a lot of ways I often hear access and barrier is a big thing that we talk about in this movement. And so you just simply saying that resharing this information, posting this information, having a conversation with your family members, with your parents. I always talk about it with my mom when I come home and with my family over like Easter dinner. And just having those conversations, you have no idea what impact that just spark is going to say and it's going to send throughout all of society.
And there's also governmental barriers that cause barriers that don't exist. I just want to say, for example, in California, I had a CSA program and I went through 2 years to get approved by SNAP to be able to take SNAP benefits in order for, which is part of the farm program. So it should be supporting farmers and it's a nutrition grant. So it should be supporting nutrition. When I got to that point, then they said, oh, well, they can't, you're not big enough for them to be able to purchase online. And so we're delivering to all these food deserts every single week. We're delivering a box of regenerative organic ROC produce to the doorstep of people that, and so we're sitting here screaming it's a privilege and da 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 da, and people don't have access. And then there's a farm that went through all the effort to get approved, and then the government and invest. You know, they come, they check your refrigerators, they check your temperatures, they check your da 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 da, everything, and then I get approved, and then they go, oh well, no, the person has to come to you. You don't, you're not authorized. But Carl's Jr. can take money online for Snap, and all these apps like Uber Eats or whatever could take the Snap. So who is that really supporting? We have to also demand that the bureaucracy is not in the way and the bureaucracy is not the barrier between that consumer, because now Snap, I'm approved to take Snap, but that consumer cannot take their kids and whatever and get on a bus and take 5 buses to come get a veggie box. It's crazy, stupid talk.
Mm-hmm.
But they, and I tried to talk, and I'm just on the phone with like a bureaucratic wall saying, oh yeah, no, you're not big enough. What, I don't understand. Literally everybody's screaming barriers and food deserts all day long. I have a van, that's refrigerated van, will drop it off. What is more easy for a mother than to use her SNAP benefits and to have a box of ROC produce show up at their door? Well, do you know, I never got past that barrier and I never was able to deliver on that. And so it's very, very upsetting because I put a lot of energy to bring this and bought vans and bought everything and got all the infrastructure and went through all the process. And just at the very end, they said, oh no, you're not going to be allowed to take it money over the internet. And because of that, they stopped hundreds of people, who knows, maybe thousands of people from getting regenerative organic produce. And maybe that led to part of why I had to sell my farm in California and all of the things where this nutrition grant is being used on soda and cookies and all of these
Mm-hmm.
things and literally blocking a ROC certified farmer from dropping it off on that mother's doorstep so that she can feed. And the idea that people that have less resources don't care about these things is a lie and is literally some kind of classism, racism, othering in itself. And so this to go through all the effort and hours and hours of paperwork and interviews and inspections to then in the end not be able to provide is very, very disappointing. And
100%.
also, the bureaucracy has to be committed to actually having the barriers disappear. Also, when there was all that government funding during COVID for boxes, veggie boxes to be given out, blah blah blah, those mostly went to um, packing, like how packing houses and middlemen, and it was very few farmers. I applied and didn't get it, to be able to get the grant money to give direct to the person who wants it. And so I believe that the SNAP program needs to be redirected to support farmers and to support health. When we talk about barriers, there's billions of dollars being given out for this nutrition grant, and it is part of the farm program. And I believe it would be impactful if we could shift those funds to supporting regenerative farmers. And then school lunch, a lot of those grants have been pulled right now, and I'm hoping my brother's actually going to DC today to talk to RFK and do some other things. So I'm hoping that we can get those back. But I know farmers that have put millions of dollars into being able to mill regenerative organic flour to go to the school system right there, so that the nutrients, we're not having this flour stripped of all its nutrients for our kids to eat at school. And that has disappeared. So I'm hoping we can reprioritize. I understand why stuff has to change. I understand why government is grossly overspending. But I think that the money that is in the farm bill should be used and directed for nutrition and for nutritious food to be getting to the consumer. And there's so much subsidies in farming, and they need to be shifted in a way that it's causing human health and soil health, and not just afloating the economy, keeping the economy afloat.
100%. Changing the incentives so that they prioritize human and planetary health over commodity, the commodity
Yes.
economy that we exist in at this right now. And honestly, that brings me in to one of the final question of the day. So we've been talking about being a consumer. Consumer is kind of an inevitable act that we're all in within the society, whether you know it or not. Even if you try and limit it, you are a consumer. That being said, how can we look beyond consumption and move into an active role? So you're talking about the bureaucratic nature of the farm system, and I think I want to hear your perspective, but I feel as consumers, a big part that we can play there is demanding that our food systems incentivize human and planetary health, calling our representatives, showing up at town halls, being an active member in our community. But I would love to hear you elaborate on how we can just not just consume, not just purchase regenerative products, consume regenerative media, but what can we do that is an active verb that we're taking place, that we can actually drive and accelerate this forward.
Well, I have a lot to say about this. Well, firstly, I think we have to reframe the way that we think about uh, society as a whole. So every farm that's doing this kind of practices needs help. I guarantee you, every single farm needs help. And there's the WOOF programs, and there's all these. I mean, right now we just set up a manufactured home with bunk beds, and we're going to get interns coming in here. If people are interested, you can apply on our website. But people need uh, the people that are doing this work need support, and it's also an awesome way for you to get reconnected. And so there's a lot of people that say, like, well, not everybody can just get on land and blah 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 blah. Well, no, that's not actually true. Like, almost everybody can get on land and do this kind of work if they want to do this. And so I actually think, and this is going to sound weird, right? But I think that everybody should do a stint on a farm doing this kind of practice, so that they can be the ripple effect of this in the world, to be sharing this, but not just like, oh, I saw this thing on Instagram and it's pretty cool what Mollie is doing over there, but like, come to a regenerative farm and support, and also heal your body, heal your gut. For example, our intern program. It's 30 hours a week. You don't get paid, but you get to live here. You get to eat 3 meals a day from the land that are prepared for you by myself, my husband, my sister-in-law, all extraordinary chefs. And you get to have your hands in the soil, which we know is more powerful than any SSRI, any antidepressant out there. And you get to reconnect with creation. And if we believe that the biology in the soil is part of creation, and we believe, not believe, we see scientifically that it's 70% compatible, same DNA as your gut microbiome. Like, it's the design of us is to eat of the soil, and so we are all out here eating of a sterile system, and it's causing sterility in all of us. Look at how many women can't get pregnant. Look at how many women are having men. The average sperm count of a man in 2040 is going to be zero. My son is 5 years old. How old he's going to be in his childbearing years at that time. Like, I am doing this because I want my children to be able to reproduce in the normal ways and to be healthy. But everybody has an opportunity to come and do a 3 month stint on a farm and take a break from your life and reconnect. Or maybe not everybody, but there's lots of opportunity to do that. So I think we have to reframe comp contribution. We have to reframe what it looks like. We have to reframe ownership. Like, what is it? I don't own this land. The bank owns this land, and I have the responsibility to pay the bank every single month. And that is a huge responsibility, but it doesn't mean that only I can enjoy the fruits of the fruits of our labor. Many people can. We live here with 22 people on land. And so I think that we live in a society where everybody wants to know what is mine, how can I own, what can be mine, and what if we're all just borrowing it from the future? And so whether the loan is in my name or the loan is in your name, does that really matter? Or can we all just have an opportunity to contribute to the land and what we're inheriting to our children and our children's children? So that's the first thing. And then, yes, we have to be, I hate government. Like, I'm just gonna say this, I'm like a libertarian, independent. Like, I think burn it all down and like go back to like some very small government, like the Constitution says. I'll say that up front. But as we are in this system and living in this system, yes, we have to make phone calls. We have to do stuff. Everybody should be calling right now about the pesticide shields. There's 20 states that are trying to create pesticide shields, and this is a huge issue. And you can, Glyphosate Girl is talking a lot about it. So you should look her up, Kelly. And my brother is talking a lot about it. I'm talking about it. But there's many places that you can look at the 20 states that have pesticide shields. And this means that those states are making laws that are protecting ChemChina, Syngenta, Bayer, Monsanto, all foreign-owned companies, all companies that are putting chemicals on our soil that do not allow a lot of these chemicals on there in Germany, in China. Not to mention that it's owned by the CCP, ChemChina and Syngenta are owned by the CCP, but they are getting shield where they can no longer be sued. And so wherever you stand on vaccines, when we put a vaccine shield, we went from 8 vaccines to 70 something vaccines in just from 86 until now. What will end up happening if we create these shields where you cannot be sued for the impact of your chemicals on humanity? We will just end up with more chemicals in our food. So we need to fight, we need to call. And I was talking to my representative here in Texas, Wes Verdell, the other day about my property taxes went up $11,000 in 1 year. I said, you, because I built a farm store in an area to sell things, and then they're charging me as commercial instead of agricultural. I'm saying, no, there has to be a carve out for direct to consumer, blah, blah, blah. And he was like telling me, will you listen to this thing and try to bring light to this? And I said, sure, what's going on? And he brought a bill, a 1 page bill, and all it says is beef in the state of Texas needs to be labeled with a country of origin, and that includes the country of birth, country of death, and then the packaging country if they're different. So that way we don't get beef from China or from South America that says you product of the USA because the carcass came here and we cut it up because we added value. That's the current standard for what. So country of origin. And the Southwest Texas and Southwest Cattlemen's Association sent their lobbyist to call him and tell him that they're going to fight this bill. And though that is supposed to be supporting us, the cattlewoman, but what instead they're obviously beholden to the packers, the four big packers that control all of our meat. And so it's about bringing this awareness, and it's about micro changes in all of our lives, and it is also about having our voices be heard, because most politicians are completely power hungry. But if they realize that we will put them out of power if they continue to poison us, then there is power in that. And we are the many, and they are the few. So we must stand up for that. And we must communicate to them powerfully that we will not allow you to be reelected if you continue to allow us to be poisoned. And so getting involved, and there's moms across America. There's so many groups that are really putting out the information of how you could get involved. And it doesn't cost us anything to make a phone call, to send a letter. Most of them, there's form letters. Now with AI, you can say, hey, I'd like to write a letter to my person, and they will formulate it mostly for you, and you can just edit the little things. It's not that hard, and we have to make our voices be heard. And each of us is so powerful. We are all a cell in the body of this earth. We belong here. The greatest psyop that has ever been perpetrated upon humanity through the green movement is that we are a plague, that we do not belong here, that we are the problem, we are the sickness. We are not. And so we need to step out of our house every day like, I belong here. I am a cell in this body. And how can I do the best for this body of this earth? And if we have that context where we make our decisions from that context in every area of our life, the ripple effect of that is immensely powerful.
Yeah, I kind of have chills just hearing you say that. I kind of went into a trance there for a second, Molly. You got me. I hope everyone else watching. Yeah, it's the the knowledge that we are active players in the food system, whether or not we are in the food system. By as a farmer, we are buying food. We are living in this world. We are living on this world. We are in society. We are in this food system, and we all actively play a role in shaping it and where it's going to go. That's a huge takeaway there. And I
Wendell, do you know who Wendell Berry is?
yes, I do.
So we have that quote painted on the side of the parking area for our restaurant that says, eating is an agricultural act, because eating is an agricultural act, and we're all contributing to agriculture every time we eat. But we don't think of that. We don't
Mm-hmm.
even think. We put so much love into putting a meal on the table for our husband, for our wife, for our loved ones. But what was the love put into that meal prior to getting the grocery store? And that's what we need to start focusing on, is how do we make sure that the same love that we want to put into the food that we give our family members is going into the food up until that point.
100%. And for all of our viewers, if you want a little bit more information about exactly how our food system is impacting the planet and impacting our health, because we're not really getting into that in the context of this conversation, in 2 hours, Zach Bush and John Kemp are going to be exploring that exact concept, how our food system should be healing the earth and healing ourselves. So if you want more context there, check out the Farmers Footprint website, join in about an hour, and listen to Zach and John talk about it. And additionally, if you're wanting some more information about how you can take action, not only did Molly just outline great ones, volunteer at a farm. I can say I was able to work on a farm for 6 months, and it changed my whole life. Literally, I'll talk about it with anyone I can talk about. Life changing. Highly recommend if anyone has the ability to do that. But it doesn't have to be going and living and working on a farm forever. Volunteer at your local farm. See if they're needing support. Local gardens. If there's a community garden that you can get a spot at. Go ahead, Molly.
I was just thought of one more thing about that is also, like, we do pickup locations, so you can engage your community to be a pickup location for, so let's say you're in Austin, for example, we're looking for an Austin pickup location that twice a month we would deliver meat and dairy and CSA boxes to, and then the host house gets $50 of free produce for being the host house, you know what I mean, and letting people come and pick it up there. And so there's so many ways that you can support, but also we have to start not begging for permission from the government. I'm a grown woman, and if I want to buy raw milk from a farmer, I believe that that should be my right. And I believe that we need to take away the barriers of local food production. And I think that we need to start to shift the ideas of local food production is a national security issue. I've said it before and I'll say it again. When an emergency happens, we need air, water, food. And then, yes, of course, we need fuel and guns and cars and everything else goes back. But air, water, food in that order. And if we are a net exporter and a net importer. So we're exporting more food than we're consuming here. I mean, then we're exporting more than we're consuming here that we're growing, and we're importing more than we're growing altogether. And in some states, it's worse than others. And as a whole country, we're doing that. And so revitalizing the local food system and prioritizing local food
Mm-hmm.
is something that I don't think is getting enough attention. And I would venture to say, and this is gonna maybe blow people's mind, I think local is even more important than organic, because we can't live in a world where we're outsourcing everything to the cheapest hourly wage. We're outsourcing the suffering to far away. And if we want to have vital communities that are livable and have all of the resources that we need, food is the number 3 after air and water of what we need in our communities. And so I just want to say that even just the smallest act of prioritizing local food or even growing local food sprouts or herbs or whatever is really important. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, that was, I want to underscore buying local is more important than organic. Something to consider with that as well is when you buy local, maybe there's a local farmer or rancher who's in your local community who's on the strive or working towards becoming organic or working towards becoming ROC certified. Something that consumers often don't see is the cost and burden that is on the farmer to meet those standards. It's often the case sometimes that someone is organic, they just don't have the means to get the certification to put it on their packaging. And by supporting them and having a relationship with them and asking them, like, how are you growing this food? How are you handling this cattle? And hearing you, a lot of times when I go to the Austin market, the farmer is the stand holder. So you're not talking to a staff member at a grocery store, you're literally talking to the farmer, and they can say, oh, I actually moved them. I was moving the chickens this morning, or I was doing this, I was doing that. And while it may not be certified organic or certified ROC certified at that moment in time, you're able to build that relationship with that farmer to build the trust in the quality of the food you're providing. And by supporting them with your dollar, you're getting them one step further to helping them get their operation into a certified organic or certified ROC standing. Mollie, it looks like you wanted to jump in there.
As someone who's been certified ROC and certified organic, and I'm now certified Regenify, um, I would say that what we don't understand is the paperwork, even the money. So I've had this, and then people say, I looked it up. It's only $2,000 to be organic certified, and it's only this much for, well, yes and no. There's so much record keeping required. And if you're just growing avocados and you have one crop and you're not purchasing trees every year, you're not purchasing seeds every year, you're not doing all that, it might be easier. But if you're a market farmer and you're growing all different things every different time of the year, every single seed that you buy has to be certified organic, or you have to prove that you couldn't find it organic. You have to save all your internet searches, and you have to, I mean, there's so much paperwork I couldn't even get into. And then when you get into ROC, there's all this other paperwork. And so much of what I care about is the soil. And so much of why we have these standards, I completely understand, because we can't trust each other. We've lost trust in each other in humanity. But I also think we want to be rekindling trust in humanity. We want to shake the hand that feeds you, as my friend AJ Richards always says, of From the Farm, which is an awesome website to find farms locally for you. Um, but when we can rekindle that trust and we give them the ability to make those transitions fully. And with organic, Regenify is a little different. You can get certified more quickly, but once you're on that stride, you can have the certification, and then they test your soil almost like a health department comes in and tests your temperatures or test for bacteria. It's like that, which so you have to show those soil tests and that you're getting certain markers every 3 years. And so that is a little bit easier of a lift for farmers because we're all like white knuckling it. Like right now it's springtime and I have so much to plant. And like I have a pile of seeds in the front seat of my car and I like try to get everything done. And we got to move the cows. And oh my God, and the rye is going to, if it gets over 80 degrees, the winter rye is just going to die. We need to make sure that the cows get moved onto it first. And we're just like rushing. And to then also, before I order some seeds to find the search and the thing and save the search and couldn't find it in bulk and this and organic. That's a lot of extra on the farmer, and especially when you're not a huge farm with a huge staff. And so I want people to consider that it's not just the financial burden of these certifications, it's the paperwork that I would say that the financial burden is a small part of it, but the paperwork burden and every single, every time you harvest and documenting how you harvest it, documenting what containers you put it in. If you're only picking avocados once a year, that's simple. If you're only picking cabbage in the wintertime and tomatoes in the summertime and that's all you grow, that's pretty simple. But when you're really having a truly biodynamic, regenerative, organic farm where you have perennials and annuals and meat and eggs and vegetables and fruit all growing together, it's a much more complex paperwork that is necessary. And also, I suspect that there's a lot of you out there that have those skill sets. And I bet you that there's farmers that would love to get certified, and you could offer your services to help them with the paperwork because honestly, we're in the field and we're not on our, sometimes people, I emailed you 5 hours ago, like, okay, great. I haven't been in the house since 5:30 this morning. And so, those of you that are awesome at that kind of accounting and paperwork saving, that's something that you could probably donate your time to a farmer and make a huge difference in their ability to sell. And I think that so many farmers are confronted by the paperwork, to be honest. And I leaned on my restaurant staff, I mean my office staff for my restaurant, to do all of my ROC and organic certifications, but I'm not sure that I would have been able to get it done if it was just me and my husband running the farm. So I just want to say that that is another way that people could contribute and they don't even have to get their hands dirty. Although I definitely recommend getting your hands dirty, eating straight off the bush, and being on a farm. And then also, we all have special occasions in our life. So have your wedding, have your birthday party, have your quinceañera at a farm. I mean, we think, oh, let's have a club, a restaurant, or whatever, but I think we want to shift, like, where can special occasions be? Right
That's
here
such a
behind
good
me, you
idea.
could have a special occasion right there, or at wherever you are. I mean, I live in a small town. There's not that many people here, but wherever you are, there's so many awesome farms that you could be doing your special celebrations. And many farms have Airbnbs. You could go on your little staycation, or you're writing a book, go stay in a little cabin on a farm and support the farmer that way. There's so many ways that we can be more integrated with our farming community.
Hmm. Definitely. I think the big through line here, and I do want to wrap up shortly. It's CSA day for Mollie, so Mollie has to go drop off some CSAs. But one thing I really just want to underscore with what you're saying is that every human being, regardless of your background, your profession, your special interest, anything, your financial standing, your background, anything, you can support a farmer. You can support the food system. You are an active participant in the food system, whether you think you are or not. And we need everyone to lean in for us to truly change the food system in a way that's significant enough and substantial enough that it will drive real change. So if you're an artist, if you're a poet, if you're a business owner, if you're an accountant of a spreadsheet scale like myself, there is a place for you in this movement. And you may not know that right now, and you may have a hard time identifying that. But it kind of circles us all the way back into the very beginning of this conversation. We were talking about what it means to be regenerative and the regenerative principles that exist beyond just simply land management. The big takeaways that I got from that from you, Mollie, were community. Regeneration happens in community. Regeneration happens in curiosity. asking people how you can help, and biodiversity. Those are the big three takeaways I got: community, curiosity, and biodiversity. We all need to be able to lean in community, be curious about what is needed for this movement to be stronger and better and moving forward, and then be diverse. Everyone can play an own unique setting in the movement.
Yeah.
If you're watching this now and you're interested in how you just want a little bit more guidance there, the Farmers Footprint team did put together a resource guide. It's about, I think, 36 slides. There's a lot of information there. It gives a little bit of information on certifications. Mollie and I got into it a little bit today, but there's a lot of certifications out there. There's a lot of books and resources. If you comment ACT to this live or ACT to the recording, we'll DM it to you. So just throwing that out there in case anyone wants that resource guide. And then, Mollie, I'm going to kick it over to you for final words, and then we can wrap it up and send you on your busy day. I know you have a lot to do on the farm.
I'm just so grateful and honored that you guys had me on. I love the work that you're doing. I love the work that Zach has been pushing forward for so many years. And I just want to leave it with the last thing is that regeneration and community requires being in community and operating with people that have different ideas than you. And um it's something interesting. I talk with my publisher a lot about the consumer and the farmer of organic regenerative food have a lot of different ideas politically, generally. And so I want to leave everybody with that nature really does favor diversity. And true diversity is also diversity of thought. And so I want you to invite you to love people that you don't agree with and agree with people that you don't love, because any community is going to require that skill in a really strong way. And we live in a world where it's so divisive, and it's like, oh my god, did you hear what that person said about that? I'm not going to listen to them anymore. Or I do an IG live with someone and people are like, I can't believe you're platforming them, they believe that. And just because somebody believes a thing that you don't agree with, they also may have other ideas that are really powerful and important. And so I just want to invite you, agree with people that you don't love and love people that you don't agree with, because in order for regeneration to happen, it is going to be people with different ideas moving this movement forward. And we cannot all stay in our boxes, in our own feedback loop with ideas that are comfortable for us. We have to be curious, and we have to even just have understanding and compassion for other people's ideas, and know that they are an expression of God just like you. And we are all here doing the best we can for our families. And so we want to just allow for the diversity, true diversity in the world. And in order for this to happen, we will have to listen and love each other, even when we don't agree.
Here, Mollie. That's a great way to leave us on today. I love that. Embracing each other and going on this journey together. Mollie, thank you so much for joining us today. It truly means the world to me. Not only that you took the time out of your busy day to join us, and the work you're doing. I'm so stoked. And I'm going to email you about that Austin place-based CSA, because I think I might be able to help you out. So
Okay, that
that's
would be
great too.
awesome. And yeah, please check out Sovereignty Ranch's website if anybody wants to order meat or come for a vacation, staycation, or have your wedding gear, any of those things. Please check out our website. We appreciate
Yes.
you giving me the time today, and grateful to be on the planet at the same time with awesome organizations like you guys out there uplifting the stories of people like me, and just honored to be here today with you.
Thank you so much, Mollie. Yeah, everyone go check out Sovereignty Ranch. And then if you're inspired to donate, the Farmers Footprint team is actively running a Earth Day campaign. You'll see the little bar at the bottom. And you can go to our website to learn a little bit more about our work and the amazing conversations we're having like this today with Mollie. So thank you for that. And on that, we will wrap it up. Thank you so much for joining everyone today. Thank you, Mollie, for joining. And tune in later today, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, Zach and John Kemp. And 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time is Helena Norberg Hodge talking about storytelling and how it connects us to the land and each other. So thank you so much, guys. Happy Earth Day and have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.